Okay, so in the last video I told you I was going to show you how to make your acrylic so that it looks like pearls so that you can find the product ratio. But first, I'll go ahead and show you that whenever you're starting to work with your brush, first thing you want to do is to burp it. You want to burp it and make sure that you are getting all the bubbles out of it. Because if you don't, those tiny bubbles are going to show up in your acrylic. You just want to make sure you have enough liquid to where your brush can be immersed fully in it and can swirl around in it. And the bubbles are coming out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make the pearl for you guys. I've been using this acrylic for a while, so I know what the product ratio is, but I'm just going to show you how I do it with this acrylic. So I swipe my brush on the side, dip in for a second, bring it out, and let my acrylic ball form. And as you can see, it's turning glassy like a pearl. Okay. Then when I place it down on the paper, it will pop up and form a ball. That's a test to see also if you have the product ratio right. You don't see any liquid outside this circle. So that's an indicator that you have the product ratio correct. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the brush. Okay. And if you haven't seen the video how to choose an acrylic brush, then I would suggest that you do watch that video because I explain the best brush to get when you're doing acrylic. So this is a Acrylic brush, which I state is the best brush when doing acrylic, which is the best brush when doing acrylic. One of the reasons being is these dark hairs at the tip of the brush. Those dark hairs is basically a guideline as to how far you need to dip in the powder. You know, you may have learned that you have to go in and drag, you know, the brush in the powder, but you don't have to do that. You just lay it in there up to the tip, up to the dark tips, and then the chemical reaction will take place with the acrylic powder and form your balls. You know, you don't have to drag because once the chemical reaction is done and you're looking at it, you know, you could take it out and it will form. It knows how much acrylic powder it needs, and so when you go like this and dragging it, you're putting in too much powder. You're not letting it work, and that's how come you get a lot of buildup. If you get a lot of buildup in your brush, you don't understand. I didn't understand why I would always get a whole bunch of buildup in my brush when doing nails, and that was because I was doing the drag method, and you know, it was too much powder for the liquid that I had in the brush. Okay, so I'm just going to do it again. Down, swipe, up to the flags, those are the dark hairs on the brush. Let it work. Let the ball form, turn glossy, and then when you drop it, it's going to go down and it's going to pop back up. It's kind of misshape it, but that's the gist of it. Okay, so now in the last video I told you about, you know, making sure that you don't make your balls too wet or too dry. So let me show you what I'm talking about. See, this ball right here is definitely too wet. you know, you put that on the nail and it's going to thin out very quickly because it's too much liquid. It's just too much liquid. It will not form a good acrylic ball. Likewise, this ball right here is too dry. It's hard to even put on the paper, and it's very stiff. You know, it will not give you the movement that you need when you put it on the nail because it's just too much powder in it. Again, you just want your nice pearl and that's what you want each time that you place, place balls on the acrylic. Perfect balls. Ratio balls. Too wet, too dry, perfect. Okay? Now it's your turn to play with your acrylic. I would suggest by just doing one swipe on the side and then going into the powder for a second, bringing it up, and just seeing what you get. Are they looking like pearls? Are they glossy? And then when you put it down, is it popping back up for you? Is there excess liquid around your balls? You're going to have to play with your acrylic. You know, if that doesn't work, if your ball is too wet when you do this, then you have to go ahead and keep your liquid in the powder longer. If it's too dry, that means that you're keeping your brush in the powder too long. So you just have to make that adjustment. You're going to have to play. And once you actually find your pearl, you know, then you're going to have to play with your acrylic so that you can once you find your pearl, then you need to remember it. Like I know, one swipe on the side of this acrylic that I use, 1 second in, that's going to make my medium-sized ball a medium-sized ball. Once you find your pearl, then you're going to need to play with your acrylic so that you can make your acrylic in different sizes, your balls in different sizes, like this. Like this. This is, with this acrylic, this is the biggest ball I can make with a size 12 brush. And then I gradually get smaller. And this is what you're going to have to learn how to do with your acrylic, because when you're doing nails, you're going to need to know how to make, you know, if you need a ball this size, you're going to need to know how to make it without even thinking about it. If you need a speck, just a really small ball to fill in a little area, you're going to need to be able to adjust your acrylic and make that size. Or jump back up here. See, this is a gradual, you know, descaling of size. And this is what your aim should be after you find out your pearl size. You find out the ratio for your acrylic. Alright, so how do you do that? Well, you need to remember that your liquid determines how much liquid in your brush determines how big of a ball you can make with your acrylic powder. So for instance, I'm dipping in this powder, I'm dipping in this liquid. I let it drop. I didn't swipe at all. So let me see what happens. How big a ball can I get with that without even swiping? Well, that's pretty huge. But is it the right product ratio? Looks like it. It's glossy. Well, here's the test. Yeah. It popped back up. That's what happens if I don't swipe on the side of the brush. I have more liquid in my brush, so I can make a bigger ball. Let's see what happens when I go ahead and do, well, you saw what size ball I make when I do one swipe. I'll do it again. Glossy, press down, comes back up. Okay, that's one swipe. Okay, guys, and don't make, you don't have to get anal if your balls don't come out perfectly square, circular. Okay, that's really not the issue. The issue is making sure that you have the ratio right. That's the main thing. They can be misshapen because when you're working the acrylic, you're going to be pressing it out anyway. Okay? So that's one swipe. Let's try with 2 swipes on the side and see what happens. Okay, now look at this. I'm thinking this is too dry. I mean, it formed a little bit, but I think it's a little dry. Let me see. Let's see if it pops up. It's doing it, but this is too dry. I wouldn't want to work with that ball because it's too dry. It's no movement. It pearled up, but it still doesn't have that movement that I need if this was on an L. Let's try a half a swipe, and that's basically just going halfway to your brush at the midway point and then swiping down. Instead of doing the whole side, you're doing it just halfway, at the halfway point of your brush. Let's try that. See what I get. And each time I'm just going in a second, but again, you're going to have to adjust it for the results that you get. Too wet, let it stay in longer. Too dry, take it out faster, regardless of how many swipes you do. Alright, so that formed my pearl. You see? Too dry. See? Too dry. I let it stay in too long. Then that makes sense because I only did a half swipe on the side and I should have took it out faster. So let's see what I get this time. There's my pearl. Okay, let me drop. Alright, and looks like I could work with this one. Yeah, I could work with it. But it's still not quite right with a half swipe. So let me just see. Maybe I gotta take it out real faster. More faster. Faster, not more faster, but faster. So let's see. There we go. So a half swipe, this is what a half swipe would get me. The size ball a half swipe would get me. You know, if I take it out kind of quickly. So, this is how you get your gradation for your balls. You will have to play. Now, one thing I want to say is, see how this one is actually too wet? Probably can't see that, but there's a whole lot of extra liquid here on the side of that ball. Okay? And it's spreading out fast. Okay? So that's how you're going to have to do it, guys, to play with your acrylic. And one thing, if you change your brush, so this is a 12, right here, this is a 14, Kolinsky. Okay, so this definitely is not going to be the same my product ratio with this brush is going to be different because it's a bigger brush. It holds more liquid, so it's going to make bigger balls, which means I'm going to have to figure out how much I need to swipe to get the size ball I want out here. Look how much bigger this ball is. Actually, let me pour some more liquid. And that's one thing. With the bigger brushes, you're going to need to have a bigger dapping dish and more liquid to be able to, you know, for it to be able, you to be able to comfortably work with it, with that dapping dish, and for you to be able to go ahead and, so you can pick up the size balls. And see how big that ball is? More liquid in the brush. There you go. And I could work with that because it's still pliable. It still will move okay if it was on the nail. Still has thickness to it. So if you go down smaller, have a smaller brush, you're going to have to do the same thing to find your product ratio and then play with it to see what's the biggest ball you can make, smallest ball you can make with that brush. And as I stated before, with each acrylic you use, guys, you will have to do the product ratio, find the product ratio. And then, you know, in the beginning I would write down like, okay, size 12 brush, pearl, you know, 1 swipe would make, you know, medium ball, 2 swipes, you know, small and, you know, tiny ball. And that's what you have to do in the beginning. And it may seem like it's very scientific, you know, the process of what we're doing, and it may seem tedious, but you guys, that's what being a nail tech primarily boils down to, is you trying products and playing with it and seeing what it will do, so that when you're working on clients, you don't get any surprises. You know what it's going to do, how it's going to react, and you'll have your technique down pat. And what I'm doing is just basically cleaning out my brush with the acetone. Oh, did I say acetone, guys? This is the liquid. Never ever use acetone for you to clean out your good brushes. Look at me talking, but you know, I used to do that and I killed a lot of brushes doing that. All you need, if your product ratio is right, you know, and you're only dipping your brush up to the flags, the dark hairs, you will not clog your brush and get that hard acrylic in there. And then all you'll need when you're done is just to go ahead and run your brush through your acrylic. Through your liquid. And then you can just fan it out like that. But yeah, product ratio is something that you must master if you're going to do acrylic nails. And, you know, if you want to make as much money as you can, you want to do acrylic nails, because even now, acrylic nails are still going strong, guys. It's still the #1 service. So if this video has been helpful to you, please like. And then if you have questions, talk to me. Let me know what's going on with your acrylic application, what problems you might be having, and you know, where you at in it, what stage you're at in it, so that I can help you guys. And if you have yet to do so, and you feel this channel looks like it will be beneficial to you, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of the family that we're growing here. And until next time, y'all, take care.